All right, we are live. We are live. I feel like the guy that announces fights, but this will not be a fight today. This is actually a way for us to collaborate and get together and support each other as entrepreneurs and those that love entrepreneurs. In fact, the world that we live in today, entrepreneurs need more support, than possible, especially with COVID, shutting down a bunch of businesses and this, that, and the other. But I want to welcome everybody to 1 Million Cups. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for participating in this event today. It will help us in so many different ways. If you haven't had a chance to do it already, please log into the 1 Million Cups app. You can see a demonstration of it on your screen. What this will do, this will allow you guys as audience members to connect with each other. If you press who's here after you check in, you'll be able to see everybody that's logged into the room. If you click on their name, you'll actually be able to find out information about them if they put that information in there. If you would like to connect with other people in here, please update your information in the app so we can connect with each other. Next slide. 1 Million Cups. So what is 1 Million Cups? So 1 Million Cups is a mastermind group for entrepreneurs. It brings us together weekly, different locations, but all at the same time. We have 160 plus chapters nationally. One being in Virginia, in the local area, we have 3. We have Prince William County. We also have 1 Million Cups Fairfax, and then we also have I believe it's at, I can't remember where the third one is at. And then there's also one in DC. Where's that other one?
I'd say Loudoun.
Yeah, Loudoun County. We want to be inclusive and supportive. We want to be safe and supportive, inclusive and diverse. We want everybody to have a voice, but we want it to be orderly. We don't want everybody shouting out at the same time. We don't want anyone to dominate the conversation, so make sure that you keep your conversation short and to the point. And then we also want to be respectful and considerate. Remember, we are recording this, and so if you do not like to be recorded, too late, you're already on here, you're being recorded. No, but we are being recorded. If you don't want to be seen, make sure that you put the picture that you have to cover your face, or log off, but we hope that you stay. We want you to consume us in several different ways. Number one, if you sign up for our newsletter, you can do that through our 1 Million Cups app, where you could follow us. You could also follow us on Facebook, and then also come on here on Zoom. And we also do this, hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be actually doing this in person again. So we would love to see you when we open our doors back up. We don't have a specific date for that, but when we do, we have a beautiful location. I think we have one of the best 1 Million Cups locations in the world. Don't you agree, John?
Absolutely.
So next slide. Speaking of that location.
What a good transition.
You like that? You like that? I set that up. That was an alley-oop right there. Speaking of that location, one of our space sponsors is Office Evolution. Office Evolution is headed up by Mr. John Yu, and Mr. John Yu is one of our he's one of our organizers. So John, please talk to us about Office Evolution.
Great, thank you, Donnell, and it's great to see everyone this morning. As Donnell mentioned, can't wait to bring everybody in our space and have the meeting. But until then, I think Zoom is working out well so far. So Office Evolution is a co-working space provider. We're located right here in Tysons. See the building behind me. We provide fully furnished private office and a flexible virtual office solution to small business owners. We are a national franchise, but also we are locally owned and operated. That's what makes us to be flexible, working with our clients. And as a locally owned business, we have a vested interest in growing a community of local businesses. And it really breaks my heart to see a lot of the small business owners struggling. That makes up the strength of our community because of this coronavirus. But hopefully all that will pass. And the fact that we are locally owned, we partner with organizations such as 1MillionCups and other business organizations to facilitate the growth of our small business owners. And additionally, we also partner with service providers such as payroll and health insurance to offer our members a group discounted rate. So if you want to find out more, I'll put my contact information in the chat box, so feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, John, for number one, being our space sponsor, and thank you to Office Evolution for having Office Evolution as one of our the places we hold our location. We're definitely happy to be partners with you. Our other sponsor is Toastmasters. Do we have Ken Portnoy on the line?
I didn't see him come in.
Okay. For those of you that are not familiar with Toastmasters, as Ken says it's the most cost-effective leadership development organization in the world. And so if you haven't heard of Toastmasters, or if you want to learn more about it, please Google them and find one in your local area. It's a great place to learn how to speak in front of large groups. I know it's one of the scariest things in the world, people say, is standing in front of a group and speaking. So Toastmasters can help you out with that. I also want to bring your attention to our organizers. Everything that you see go on a weekly basis is done by our organizers. They hang in the background. They don't jump out there and say, hey, look at me. They're here to support and help every one of the entrepreneurs that come on here and play a different role. So I want to thank our organizers. Organizers, real quick, can you show everybody who you are by raising a hand? Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate every last one of you. Virtual meetings. This is a little bit different than being in person, but it is just as effective. One of the things we need you to do right now, if you're not on mute, please be on mute, and make sure that you mute your microphone out of respect for those that are speaking. We also need you to use the chat. If you want to let everybody know that you're here, please put your contact information in the chat. That way we'll have ongoing information on who's here and what you do. And that way, if people want to connect with you, they can download the chats and we'll get that information sent out to you. When it comes to, can you go back one more slide, please? Go back one slide. When the moderator says your name, please unmute your microphone and say your question. Make sure your question is respectable and is to the point, so the presenter understands exactly what you're saying and he could answer your question, and then put your microphone back on. Next slide. Without further ado, it is with distinct pleasure that I am introducing VetBuilder.com, Mike Whitlow. Not only is he a good friend, but he does quality work. And he's a veteran like me. Unfortunately, he was not in the Army. He took that other service. He was a Marine Corps veteran, and served several years in the Marine Corps and decided to come out on the other side and serve this nation in another way, through the things through helping you in your house needs. And so, Mike Whitlow, it's an honor to have you. The floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, thank you. That was a hell of an introduction. I was like, I'm looking for that guy someplace. Very simple. I'm Whitlow. My company is VetBuilder.com. We're a construction and restoration company. We sort of operate in the suburbs of the greater DC area. And that's it, right? See you guys later. Next slide. The challenge question is, what we're doing is there's a huge market for home remodeling, home repair, construction, remodeling, there's decor. It's a $1 trillion industry. And what we have here is we've got a number of franchises that operate in that same space, but there isn't that sort of singular go-to place that when you go, wow, you know what, my water heater did this, or I've got rotten wood, I need to paint, where do you go? And that's where VetBuilder.com is going to fit. We're sort of going to slide into that segment and take that industry and give you the go-to place. The problem is basically I'm a guy with 2 vans and I swing a hammer. So we're in what's called the resource phase of our development, and coming sort of out from behind the scenes and networking. It's something that we've been working on for, well, the networking part has been the last 3 years. I'm not a lifelong Chamber of Commerce guy. I'm usually up on ladders and painting and that type of thing. So it's been sort of a new experience for me on this side of it. The next one. Here's we are. This July will be our 6th year. When we opened up in July of 2014, we started out with 1 van, 1 guy and myself. About 6 months later, we had another guy in another van, and we sort of maintained that momentum up until probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. We sort of plateaued at a number, and at that point we had explosive growth, and we really just needed to catch up. The logistics, the paperwork, the figuring out how to file, QuickBooks, taxes. And so last 2.5, 3 years, we've been sort of focusing on supplying the brand recognition and the product. And on the backside, we've been restoring the space that you see behind me in the middle of small town USA. That sort of lends to the narrative of where we're going to be sort of operating out of once we start to scale up to that point. Primary focus, and Donnell and I were talking a little bit about this yesterday. My primary focus or the target market, we whittled it down to single family homes in Northern Virginia. And we did that because, well, we had to have that base. The truth of the matter is we have a product or service that basically anyone will either want or need, and need is sort of where I get them. But single family homes, we operate, our corporate headquarters is 60 miles west of Washington, DC. We go into the suburbs, and then we work particular neighborhoods. The area where our test market was, or where we sort of defined our business model, is the Bristow, Gainesville, Haymarket corridor. And other than a few jobs for clients that we've had pre-existing, some of our preservation work people in Alexandria or Fairfax, we sort of stay right there for right now. Next slide. Customers. Again, we're not statistically based or demographically sort of roped into a single entity or client base. But if I had to go out, what I would basically say is my prime customer and who I talk to every day is the woman of the house, the woman that works a full-time job as a professional, because in the areas that we operate out of, they're $350,000 to $750,000 homes. So we're in a network of very professional people, families, but the woman of the house is who I talk to. And that's who answers the emails, sends the emails, in my interaction. I usually joke around, if I see the man of the house, then there's usually a problem. That's basically because a lot of the times I'm fixing what a DIY project went awry. The remodeling side, we have basically 3 divisions. We have the remodeling side, which is where our bathrooms, kitchens are going to sort of fall. Then we have the service industry, which more classically known as handyman, where I come in, I say, hey, Tony, it's great to meet you. You've got this, let's get this fixed. I do the job, I leave the place cleaner, and it usually smells good because I, have a nice spray that makes everything smell delicious. And then we leave. And the design the handyman work normally feeds the remodeling. Once that relationship is built, it's very, very common for people to call me up and say, hey, you did a great job fixing the faucet, but you know what, we've really been thinking about a bathroom. And then that's how it just sort of rolls. The design work fits into that because on top of what we do, I'm pretty active in product lines when it comes to bathrooms. It's sort of where I'm not going to say that that's our niche because I don't want to lock myself into that, but we do a lot of bathrooms. So various product lines, I keep up on that type of stuff. So when I come into your space and I see, okay, well, you've got blah, 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 this would look nice here. This is an option on a 42-inch cabinet, your vanity lights. So that's where the experience sort of comes in, because I can come into a space and go, yeah, you've got A, B, and C, and this is basically what that's going to cost you. So it helps out. Competitors, other choices at this level in the area that we work at, we've got a couple of small guys that work the neighborhoods, and then we have franchises like Mr. Handyman. Once we scale up, the competition changes. It sort of will take us to a pay for lead situation, which is where you'd find your home advisors, your Angie's List, your Amazon home services. Those people right there, that's not someone that we're going to do a David and Goliath thing to. There's way too many resources. But the nice thing about that is they're creating a narrative that we're going to sort of fall back into, and they are creating or already have created a network of people that do the work. So as we get to the next steps, we can pull from that network. What makes this different? Wow, this is the loaded question. When I started VetBuilder.com, the main focus was to build a reputation-based company, and this was because I had worked at a number of different companies. I've worked for franchises, and once I finally figured out what the business model is and how it works, then you start looking at the things that didn't work. And part of that was there was no interaction, no real rapport with the clients, because you were getting in, it was like riding a cab. It was hourly. People weren't comfortable with that. You go into the house, you don't wear a uniform, or you don't wear something that signifies who you are. Your van's dirty, you're unorganized, you don't wear booties, put draw claws down. So very, very simple things could be immediately taken care of. I knock on the door, I smile, you recognize my shirt. I'm putting booties on as I come into the house. No tools hit your floor. And when I do the job, I also interact with you. And that's another key area that a lot of guys don't do. And it's, if you've got a problem, I say, hey, Tom, look, this is what we had talked previously about this. Well, I found that it's not Death Star type of stuff, as I like to say, but it can possibly change the scope of work and possibly a cost on material. And people appreciate that honesty. And it's worked very, very well for us. And part of the other thing that makes us different is I want to say me, but that doesn't sound right. Being able to be outgoing. It's, when I talk to people, I talk to them like they're friends of mine. I don't go into a house, especially with most of my clients, as they're the female of the house. There's no alpha male going in. I walk into your house, I look around, I compliment you on your paint selections, your decor. Hey, you know what? I really like what you guys did there. You create an environment where a lot of my discussions, especially when I do estimates, a lot of those discussions really have nothing to do with what I'm there for. So that really sort of pushes us away from the other guys. And then the quality of work, we really do a good job. And if we don't do a good job, I am the first one to say, hey, you know what, we didn't knock this one out of the park. I'm not real happy with this. And is this going to cause more time? It's not going to cost you any more money. And that's primarily going on 6 years why I've kept a perfect, I don't have a bad comment on across any of the platforms. So that's primarily what it does, or how we go. And the difference, it's the same thing. We really do care, and everyone says that, but the difference is when I do show up and we are doing our work and we are interacting, and when I do leave your house, if I'm working on your toilet, the whole toilet comes out, when I'm done, it's clean. The floor around it's clean. It's just a little bit of extra effort, but when you walk in, most people don't know that I changed the valve kit on the toilet. All they know is it's not running, but it smells nice and it looks clean. So shake your hand, swipe your card, and tell you to call me back. That's essentially it. What makes us unique, all of the above. It's a momentum thing. We come in, we do our job. If I say I'm going to be there 8 o'clock, I'm there at 7:45. They're in the construction or remodeling industry or handyman industry. You see a lot of people there's a lot of complaints. Well, they never showed up, or they never called, they don't respond. Well, we try very hard to do that, and that immediately sets us apart just by saying hello. The upgrades and whatnot, if somebody calls me up and says they want a bathroom, I do enough bathrooms that I can send you what I call the bathroom in a box. It's a spreadsheet that has all of the moving parts of a bathroom. There's the cost of the items, there's the labor, and we go from there. There's no reason to hide that. I don't hide markups. I give clients the option of buying the big ticket items so that there is no markup, and it gets them involved. Involvement on something like a remodeling job, that's pretty largely what I call preference item driven. So we get there, we get everybody involved. What the market's missing is, again, that transparency and that verb that I mentioned earlier. And there's the challenge question. What we have been doing is we've been networking up. We've been creating our own tribe in various industries that are what I call pieces or key components. And a key component would be, say, for instance, like my good friend Greg Buddha with the Jewelry Republic. He's a gentleman that runs a much, much larger organization than I do. So it's not uncommon for me to ask him about things like making presentations and whatnot. And then I have friends like Donnell, same thing. He's knocking it out of park. So with a company that's going nationwide, so that's relevant information, and they're just good people. The challenge the challenge that I'm coming up against is, at what point do I slow down the field work? Because that's what generates my income. But at the same time, I've got a time management issue in growing the brand to go to the next level. So we're working with that a little bit with our network. And also we've trimmed down what we're doing in the field this year, essentially just to give us a little bit more breathing room. And it also gives us a little bit more exclusivity with the brand at this point. I think that's it. I'm a real simple guy. Swing a hammer is what I tell people. And then I open it up. We have a beautiful space in the historic district of the town of Front Royal. We're very, very involved here locally with events and the vendors and whatnot. We have a very close knit community that we're building out here. Again, it just goes towards the networking and getting myself in front of people that, well, have more experience and, quite frankly, are probably a lot smarter than I am, and essentially that's been the plan to this point. And this type of presentation, this being my first one, by the way, is how we're opening up the door, getting more people involved.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it over to, you did an outstanding job, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes. And for this being your first presentation, I think you must have been practicing in the mirror last night or something like that.
It's the new haircut. I don't know what happened. Everything changed.
All right.
Thank you.
Mayusha, please take over from here.
Hi, Michael. I'm Mayasha. I'll be the one helping you navigate through all the questions.
Perfect.
So if you have questions, everybody, just please raise your hand and I will come to you one by one. So are you a certified like contractor, like a Class A?
Yes, we operate, right now we operate with a Class C license. We don't do projects large enough, but yes, we are corporate, an S Corp with Virginia and fully licensed in 3 different counties as well.
Okay. All right. That's great. So Bill has some, Bill Hosington, he has a question for you.
Yeah, so great presentation.
Thank you.
It sounds like the value that you offer is very strong, but you're in 3 counties, and my question for you is that your question is from 2 vans in 2 counties to nationally recognized. Can you talk to me more about what your goal is?
Oh, absolutely. The remodeling industry we're also one of those industries that there's a shortage of workers. So there's a narrative that's going to be coming up through HBO has already got it in the can, post-production on that issue. The other issue is there's always that question of, okay, well, do you know a guy? Who's your guy? And sort of getting into that narrative and being that guy. The market's there. The market research is there. You look at companies like Lowe's and Home Depot. If they feel that there's a need to have one of their big box locations in a particular area, that area is going to be able to sustain a branch of VetBuilder.com. And it's getting there, it's getting in front of people and sort of, again, being that guy that people instantly think that, you know what, if I need some information about this, I'm not quite ready, but there's a resource.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Talmar. Thank you. Bill, I'm moving over to Talmar now. Talmar has a question for Michael.
Hi, Michael. Thanks
Hi.
for the presentation. I'm Talmar. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm a hiring strategist, and a little piece of my heart breaks at the idea that you're turning down business rather than hire.
Right.
And I understand that there's something to building an exclusivity, but you do that through pricing and packaging and positioning, as opposed to turn down work that's not in your lane. But if it's a capacity issue where you're choosing to be out networking and lead generation over, serving clients and building a raving fan base, I'd love to understand, do you have any thoughts on when you plan to hire, or, when we're scaling, it is about understanding the workflows and starting to build in people that can help us get outside of obviously doing everything ourselves, but also just know where they can be specialists and they can really shine. So have you tried to hire in the past, or what is your plan for, if you're going to get nationally recognized, you're going to get a lot more business. So how's your team development coming?
We rolled out what I'm calling VetBuilder.com 2.0 in January. Prior to that, we had 2 full-time employees running the roads. We paid our guys very well. Vacation, a lot of benefits that smaller companies don't offer. Vacation, days off, sick days, pretty liberal on the sick days, by the way. And what we basically discovered is that we needed to focus on a number of other things. Logistics. We just opened up a brand new office. We wanted to sort of finalize the business model, and quite frankly, I needed to take back the brand a little bit, because it was my work and it was my recognition. And I want to do a little bit more hand-holding type of deal. We weren't quite ready to hire that guy that was going to be the shift supervisor. And so what we do is we scale back a little bit. Let's pull everything back together and move on from there. Hiring, I'm not going to hire anybody probably till fall. And that essentially there's a couple of different things there. Is both of my vans are both of those vans I keep referring to need to be replaced. So there's a couple of other things going on, and also the management side of it. Managing the two guys going into the field, running the estimates and doing all these things was taking away from my time to actually build the brand past where it's at now. And don't get me wrong, in the Bristow, Gainesville, Haymarket area, if anything happens, there's a number of communities that the first person they pin to the top of the page is me. It's actually odd to walk into a store and be recognized as the VetBuilder guy. Growing that into different markets. Once we've established how we're going to actually do that logistics wise, we're gonna do it better than we did the last time. The first time we blew up. I mean, we absolutely blew up. At one point I had up to 5 employees, mostly helpers. There was 3 qualified guys. And with the cost and the amount of energy that was going into that, when we rolled everything back in January, we decided, well, let's focus on this aspect, get a little bit more momentum on the networking and getting my name out there, and then going back to sort of satisfy what's going on in the field right now.
Michael, that's great. Sorry, we want to keep the questions a little bit short because I have a few
My
more.
question was short.
Sorry.
I'm sorry,
The
I'm
answers,
talking.
the
I'll talk all
answers.
day.
Oh my God.
A little bit short.
Can I-
Tom, one more question from you, and then we'll
I'm
move
just
to the
gonna-
next one.
One last thing is I do, I recognize that there's a lot of moving pieces, but be mindful that until you have other staff, profitability side of your business can't grow. And that's going to limit your opportunity to brand, buy vans, and so on and so forth. And I will drop my information. Please follow up with me if you have more questions. I'd love to help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and this question is from Jen. Jen Dalton, did you want to ask the question?
I was just curious if you're a member of NARI.
I'm not.
Okay, I think that is probably a good idea. You've got some great before after photos. And so there's a lot of benefit that can come from joining NARI, and it's a low effort, but potentially big reward. So just something worth thinking of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
And Tony Bonnet.
Okay, great. Yeah, having known full well how difficult it is to find reliable people in your industry, I think you kind of hinted out with actually coming out and saying it, and people who are aligned with your brand. Have you spoken with, and I know there are companies out there that specialize in franchising, who help you organize and do the back end stuff to actually organize the operation of bringing in franchise, people who pay you to become a franchisor of yours, because your brand is building. Obviously, you've hinted at the fact that, and made it clear that, not hinted, made it clear that you get traction quickly.
Yes.
And if you start reaching out to, or having, reach out to other veterans who are in your industry around the country, or even just in this area, you can build that out and build franchises that are under an umbrella. Have you already spoken with someone about that?
I have. There's a gentleman, Joel Stewart, who is sort of in the vet network that I'm in, is sort of the superstar there. My primary deal with a franchise is and I sort of work on the enterprise rent-a-car model. It's essentially exactly what they do, retaining ownership, full ownership of it. Not that not that I can't be swayed. That's sort of the direction that we're moving into. Now we are talking about opening up a second location to, if that does change, to qualify for at least the minimum amount of what a franchise would need to sort of take some traction. So absolutely.
Because an old friend of mine who owns Shiner Roofing said that one of the biggest things that got business going for him was the trucks in the neighborhood, and
Right.
the fact that he got bigger than he could do. So he partnered off with a couple of other people to basically franchise it. So there, even though it's Shiner Roofing, there are a couple of different owners who profit share and everything else, so that they can take on responsibility for their market segments in the area that they operate.
Absolutely.
So, that's probably a workable idea, but he didn't have to do any marketing. The trucks driving around and word of mouth was all that they needed.
Yeah, I've never spent a dime at this point, but it's all been word of mouth, and you're absolutely right. The vans do it.
Next, we have Phyllis. Phyllis Simon.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for your presentation, Michael.
I love the glasses.
Oh, thank you. So I was thinking about your question, how do you go from a local entity to a nationally recognized brand? And one of my thoughts is, in order to have a nationally recognized brand, you need to protect your brand.
Right.
I'm an intellectual property attorney, and I saw that you had a number of years ago, you've had a trademark application. And I just quickly looked through it, and you were so close to getting it, so close. So don't give up, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I put my contact information in the chat, and
I will, because that's what I'm really worried about, because it is a cool logo, and it's perfect that way. And I'm like, yeah, I tried. It got, and you're right, it got right to that last bit, and yep, there it was.
Yep, you're very close. So the good thing is, there's a good chance you can get something out of it. So
perfect. I will reach out to you on that. Absolutely. Thank you.
Melinda Fields.
Morning. I got a couple of really short, fast questions that I wanted to get a feeling on. The first one is, actually, do your guys sell out of the truck, or do you dispatch everything to them and they go out to a project? It's sort of how you run your business, because I've noticed your industry is doing it both ways.
Right. And that's a fantastic question, because and that's one of those sort of nuances that I didn't put on the thing. When I sell you a bathroom job, I sell you a bathroom job. Unless I find that there's anything crazy going on, or what I call Death Star, I don't do change orders. I think in some cases, I think they're backhanded. If we do find something, we're very communicative of that fact, and then we'll go back. But as far as them upselling you at the house, like say like a Mr. Handyman franchise, or a lot of the other organizations, that the guys are 110% motivated on upsells, because that's how they get paid.
Michael and Son.
They don't operate that way.
Right. Next question, really fast. Do you just sell to people with houses? Do you do the townhome condo community? Do you do offices? I know you said your niche is homes that are in a certain range, but that does fit townhomes and condos too. And many times people buy something like that and want to gut it and get the guy.
There are as of right now, there are 244 million homes in the United States. I will work in any of them as a price point or whatnot. I stay out of commercial work, and that's mainly because that's a growth area further on down the line. And commercial work requires it's a different set of skills. They do things differently. And we're very comfortable in the home remodeling aspect. But we do work with realtors. I have something I call retail ready, where depending on the budget, we go in, there's a paint, you fix lights, the little knick-knack stuff that never gets done. And I also stay in my lane. If you call me up and say you're looking to have carpet done, I'm going to tell you, hey, you know what? Honesty over making a buck. Your money is much better spent using a company that does this on a daily basis. They have better resources, and they can better accommodate you.
The last part of my question is on your advertising. Obviously, your trucks have branding on it. What other kinds of advertising have you looked at as you take your brand local? And have you looked at picking another city like Chicago in the suburbs, or somewhere up in New England, or somewhere on the West Coast, just to see how the markets can grow, and just test it against things that you've been doing here? But
what I'm doing now is I'm not currently working with Google Ads, but my good friend Greg Buda of the Joe Republic is, and he's showing me the insights and whatnot with that. What I primarily do is, since we operate basically in the suburbs, is when I drive around and I see that there's a suburb and I copy down the suburb name, I'll go and start doing research on Facebook. 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to find at least 2 pages that are basically that small neighborhood. One generally is going to be residents only, but then another one's going to be for other people. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I just simply say, hey, we're in the neighborhood Monday. Here's our information. We're very popular in Braemar, and what I'll cater it to whatever it is that someone's looking for. Now, as far as going to sites like Prince William Connect or anything like that, I do go on to those pages, but I don't do what I call phishing. I don't, if I see someone that's asking for information, I very, very rarely will jump in. 50% of the time a client of mine will, in which I'll at that point, hey, thank you, Melinda, for your information. Thanks for the shout out, and then I'll drop my information behind it, and then I let it up to them to contact me.
Actually, what I meant was video, television.
We're getting there. we're getting there. I'm working with Chris McPhee with Brand Media on specifically just that. It's doing some video production. Absolutely.
Thank you, Melinda. We'll move on to Deb Cohen next.
Morning, everyone. I will start with a question, and then I'm going to go to sort of the background as to why I asked the question. So the question is, who do you partner with, and what is your partnership strategy? And the reason I asked that question is because I am the, mom, head of household who hires folks, or I did when I had a house that was older and needed lots of repair work. And when I went to sell that house, several realtors that I talked to suggested that I do some remodeling. I did not want to do that. That was part of the reason I wanted to sell the house, is because I didn't want to manage that process. And I ultimately hired a realtor who worked with a guy who did the remodeling. And he was the realtor was the interface. So that brings me to my question, which is, if you want to go national, why not partner with people who are realtors and who are part of national chains, who can get you into A, different selling markets in this area, and B, into other markets? Because that's a kind of you talked about being realtor ready, by having a little package to get people ready to, so they can show their house. Oftentimes when you peel back that onion of a house, there's lots of things that need to be done. And having that partnership with realtors may be extremely beneficial to you in that regard. And then I'll just make one other comment. You said if somebody needs carpeting, you say, that's not my strong suit, that's not what I do, go to if I'm the head of household and I'm doing a remodel job, I don't want to have to go and hire you to do my bathroom and then hire somebody else to do my carpets. I want somebody that can do it all. So the question then becomes, if you are a contractor and you're out there doing that remodel, can you bring in the carpet company, still pass on some savings to them because you have a partnership with the carpet company and the person is dealing with only one person, and that's you?
Okay, the partnership, yes. I do work with a number of realtors. With regards to the partnerships, the relationships I have with the realtors that service my area, we do a number of projects with them. The client interaction is generally, if the house is being sold, I take ownership of that. I don't work through the realtor. And with the carpet, the way I solve that interaction is I can do that, but I also tell them, if you do want to save the money and not have the markup on that, this is who I use. I use Claw's Carpet in Bristol. So it's in that area. It's a little bit. There's a little bit of a. I'm not going to say a bad thing. Realtor work tends to be a little bit more difficult because they expect the work to be done absolutely immediately, and then I can't always clear my schedule to accommodate them. So we do work with a few. We just don't. It's not a primary.
Right. But that ties back to Talmar's point, which is you need to have the people on staff ready to be able to get in and do those things quickly, because if you're going to build your business, then you need to be ready to build those partnerships so that you can take off at a much faster rate.
Absolutely.
So I would consider exploring the partnership aspect in a little bit more depth and building out a model for partnerships.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna write that down.
Thank you very much. Next, Jen Dalton.
Sure. I just wanted to call out that, and I think Talmar mentioned this as well. You've got some really great messaging that I think is missing from your website around the story of you as a vet, around the employee benefits you spoke to earlier, around the touch points that you have with customers and your philosophy and beliefs. And then I even think the before and after pictures, because I love after pictures, but I don't think I'm seeing any before pictures.
Right.
So just something to think about, even the retail ready, right? I think
Right.
there's some really good packages that speak to your audience in a great way that show how you're different. I think that's missing from your story and your site right now.
Everything's missing from my site.
But the
It's
good news,
not very good.
you have a lot you can put there, right? Some businesses stuff is missing and they still don't have stuff to put there, but you have a lot you can do and work with. So that's a
Right.
good. I just think you need someone to work with you on the messaging piece and getting it on the site.
Thank you. Yes, I agree 100% on that.
I have Sharon Sobel. Did you have something to add, Sharon?
No, I put it in the chat to Michael privately, just some ideas I had. I didn't have a specific question at this time.
John Rutenberg, did you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Michael, great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So a couple of things. I think regional versus national is a faster direction to get to national. I would pick the next set of counties in and around your region, because what you said that differentiated you was your level of quality and communication. And the guy in Iowa who might be your franchisee may or may not share your values. So before you expand to Iowa or Colorado, the next county down might be the place, or the next 3 counties. But then I would find the 15-year plus communities where families now need to remodel, and whether it's 10 or 20 years. And then I'd go to the town or the county and I'd get the addresses in that subdivision, and I would either start a direct mail or an email campaign in those, let alone knock on the doors. And I would wait, you know, when you become a national company, you're no longer pounding nails, you're marketing.
Right.
So I know a number of people who have national roofing companies, one guy who has national gutter. And so he hasn't installed a gutter in 15 years. Purely marketing.
Right.
So I don't think that's quite where you want to be. And last, I would say, check out relationships with the Home Depots in your region.
Mm-hmm.
A great way to get business, and then add your next crew and van.
Right.
I understand there's a big cost to it, but having the quality team is the best way to grow, and controlling your growth by going county by county and subdivision by subdivision. I think for a remodeler who really cares about his reputation is vital.
I agree 100%. Our next growth area, what I'm looking for, is Loudoun County. There's a couple of things, keeping it local, absolutely. And the other thing is too, in the state of Virginia, I'm licensed for the entire state. So, you know, the concept of being 60 to 90 miles out of a major metropolitan area, there's a lot of land there. So, but I definitely, and that's where it's going to go. It's going more towards local and then expanding now. Absolutely. Great idea.
Thank you, John. Bill Hosington.
Yeah, from earlier, the reason I had asked about the nationally recognized brand and your goals was because, same as John Rutenberg and a few others have mentioned, it just feels like too big of a leap to go from serving a few counties to serving the entire country.
Right.
Not to mention, you know, where your strengths are your quality, your heart. Do you actually care about what you're doing? I think it's brilliant for follow-on work to leave the place smelling really nice. I think that's just a genius move. So I think, you know, to expand nationally, you're going to lose like some of that heart and that quality that you're providing. So I see for you expanding on just a slower rate. but still being very successful. And I think that it has to do with marketing. I think it has to do with educating the area on who you are, getting them to understand that they can trust you. And I think you'll be able to crush it because you're providing the value. And I think that's the key part that you already have.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Talma, did you have something to add?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Michael.
My store's on Main Street, and there's people knocking, trying to knock on the door to get in. I totally agree. It's the final expansion into the nationwide thing. We'll have to see how that rolls out, but definitely the local. I live in an area where 4 of the richest counties, Loudoun County, Fairfax, Arlington, or it's Arlington I'm still on, I think, and Prince George County. The opportunity is unbelievable. So definitely going to be doing more local before we start thinking to going someplace else.
Great. So, Michael, I was just going to, I wanted to re-mention, I know it's been mentioned, but I want to make sure, one of the things that was specifically appealing and attractive to me to find out more about your business was the vet side of VetBuilder. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a real opportunity for you to further explain that alignment. There are literally people out there that are looking to work with and support anyone who's been of service to this country. And it is not about stepping into or taking advantage or besmirching anything that you've been involved in. It's letting us recognize it by choosing you specifically because we know the work ethic and the type of person that goes into service. So I would really recommend, and I know some other people have, that you really kind of look at that messaging and lead with that, because it makes it a much faster, easier course of that know, like, and trust, right? You're going to get they're already halfway past the trust is almost all there already, and they're halfway down the know. So they just want to know more about you and your specific services. So I just wanted to reiterate that I think that that is a real opportunity for you right here, right now in the area you serve.
Absolutely. And I agree. That's one of the biggest reasons that I talked to Donnell, going in with Donnell's network, again, with Greg Buddha with the Jewelry Republic, because we are also working with Colin Garrett with the Xfinity race car driver to get that message out as well. It's just, it comes down to, we just haven't, I've been behind the scenes for so long, and sort of coming out of that is exactly what you're witnessing right now. That's first time.
Well, and Donnell's your man. I'm sure he's got a lot that he can help you with there, and
absolutely
walking that line of respectfully and excitedly representing where you've been and what you've done in a new way as a part of your career and your brand. So I'm sure it'll come together for you, Michael.
I'm planning on it, but we'll see, right?
Thank you, Talmar. We have another question from Tony Bond.
Talmar kind of hit right on it what I was going to say. The big thing is trust, and right. Homeowners are very leery about letting anybody, handyman or otherwise, into their home. So, when they sit there and see VetBuilder and see that, that veteran background, and they know the type of resolve and the type of person that's coming in, that's a foot up on a bunch of other guys, as you said, who, don't have the logo, they don't have the shirts, they come in, dressed in dirty clothes to sit there and do, 2 hours of work, which should have taken most average guys 30 minutes to do. Learned it the hard way. Yeah, learned it the hard way through my mother-in-law. Right. And that's my question was, have you thought about, from the hiring aspect, creating an organization that is pulling together and pulling in and training the vets to do the work, but training them on your level? In other words, you're training the personality, or finding the guys who have the right personality and sitting there and working on them to be detail oriented, to be super focused on the customer and having the customer relationship while they're doing the work.
Yes, yes,
That
yes
could be a
and
whole
no.
different business. That could be a whole different business for you. Training the service end, guys who know how to, wield a hammer, who know how to lay tile, who know how to fix toilets, redo bathrooms, kitchens, and stuff like that, and training them on your level of service.
Absolutely. I've looked into, there's a program that the government is, and I can't remember the name of it, where we go in and we help train guys and gals that are just getting out of the military. There's that's a very loose one. But thank you. It's something that we've sort of been toying with, but we haven't really nailed down how we're going to do it. My primary network is mostly veterans. And as we make that transition, my idea or my thought is the fact that we're going to have people in the management position and in the field that are going to be military backed. Absolutely. Very good question. We just haven't gotten to that point yet.
We have a question from Justin Banford.
Hello.
Justin, have any comments? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is my first 1 Million Cups, and I really like what you guys are doing. And Michael, I'm a corporate attorney and a entrepreneur starting my own startup, but I appreciate all the feedback you're getting. And I just kind of left you a comment in the chat, but my thought was that if you really want to get out of the linear hour for hour renting out your time kind of growth model, which a lot of people get stuck in, then it's really like you identified, it's finding great people and great team members to help you. And so, you mentioned keeping 100% of ownership of the company, which is fine, but you may consider how else to kind of incentivize and motivate great people to come work for you. So, it's kind of like a give and take. You could keep 100% of the profits right now and kind of stay where you are, or maybe share a little or give more autonomy or do something else. I mean, frankly, in my own startup, I'm trying to do this. I want to be the dumbest, least paid employee, but, own all of it. And I'm ready, to give out whatever kind of equity or performance share bonuses or whatever else I need to do. So, maybe somebody that comes to you is looking to say, hey, I don't want to go work for a national home builder or a big company, but I want autonomy that I don't have, I have flexibility in my hours. I have, work-life balance, whatever you can offer people that come join you and, kind of give them autonomy and some incentives to kind of, show you what they can do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely a growth area. And I think that it's with this type of event, I'm hoping to learn a little bit more about that. I swing a hammer. It's one of those things where it can be fantastic on paper, but unfortunately I need people like you and your questions to sort of like, okay, well, I hadn't thought of that type of deal. But
Thank you, Justin. Michael, that was an awesome presentation. We have one final question. We always hold out for Mr. Donnell Johns.
Oh no, this isn't a roast, right?
No, absolutely not.
Take it away. The final question.
Mike, number one, it's been an honor to host you as our presenter at 1 Million Cups. In knowing you personally, I also know your brand, and you're an amazing person, and I know you do amazing work. And thank you for coming on our platform to help us help you. And it's been amazing, and I could hear the passion in your answers and how much you love what you do. Here's my final question. What can we do for you? What can the 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Donnell, as always, we talked yesterday on the phone. Thank you. Just being able to sort of be around people that know more than I do and work in different industries, because I think being in different industries is key to developing, and without having that sort of that base, Everyone here, thank you so much. You've all helped me so much. Anyways, I've got a big list of things. I've got to go do some homework. I think that's my quickest answer is now I realize I need to do so much more.
Absolutely.
But thank you. It's more of an honor for me to tell you the truth. It's been a very, very exciting morning to say the least.
No, thank you so much. You have earned a 1 Million Cups cup. Usually we give those out in person.
I do
Yeah.
like a cup.
So now you have to come once we go back to our different location, our location at the fabulous Office Evolution. You got to come and pick up your cup during someone else's presentation and give them amazing feedback like you have. So
I have to. I was really looking forward to driving down to this one because I wasn't quite sure where we were going to fit with the Zoom because I've never Zoom called anybody. I'm embarrassed to say that. So
no, that's all right. So everybody, let's give Mike Whitlow a hand.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Next week we have Lindos Magnesium Water. They're actually a veteran-owned company. The following week after that, on the 17th, we have Allstate, and then we have on the 24th we have the Queen of Spades Natural Hair, which is also a veteran-owned company. And in July, we have Boss Actions with Talmar, our very own. And then on the 8th, we have Keep Your Hair Headgear, which is also a veteran-owned company. We have a nice little theme going on here. If you want to present or if you want to be a part of this, go to www.1millioncups.com/Fairfax to submit your application to present at 1 Million Cups. First come, first serve. We'll definitely vet you and make sure that you look as good as Mike did today. But thank you guys so much for coming out. Real quick, do we have time for events? Oh, actually, we're 2 minutes over, so we really don't have. You can say your event if you need to log off. Please do. But let's go to the next slide real quick. If you have an upcoming event, please put it in the chat and also speak. I see Talmar, you didn't raise your hand like 4 times, so go ahead and go ahead.
So this afternoon, we're doing a webinar called Stop Juggling and Build Lasting Growth. It's for established business owners that are ready to figure out how to actually step-by-step create that scale that we keep talking about and what the heck scaling a business really means and how it can benefit your company. So it's called Stop Juggling, and it is on LinkedIn. It is on Facebook, the Boss Actions. And if you want to reach out to me, Talmar Anderson directly, I will drop it in the link, but if anybody wants the connection, 4:30 today, Eastern Standard Time, would love to see you there.
Thank you, Talmar. Is there anyone else? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. We appreciate you again, VetBuilder.com. And everybody that's on this call, thank you so much.
Thank you.